to be live. Welcome to Talking Investing. Got Tom.
I'm George.
We got a Thursday special edition at the request of George.
What do you mean a request of me?
Well, you missed a few, so you wanted to get it.
Yeah, I know. Well, I'm trying to help my son stay motivated in school this year. So we've been taking him to the beach on Friday.
Nice.
So, but Tom, I heard you're a legend.
You heard that? All right. I've heard all different opinions on that matter.
I mean, to get a press release from a CEO within a matter of minutes, you know, that to me, you're a legend. Did you do that video yet or no?
I just put a video out on that. So, yeah, just about a half an hour ago, if anybody's seen my most recent video. So, we'll see. I don't know if it was us or if everybody had the same questions, but
no, you are so humble. It was you. Who was it that sent the video to him, by the way?
One of our subscribers left a note and said, hey, I sent this video to management and told them they need to watch it and answer your questions. And sure enough, they put out a press release. It was unbelievable.
Do you, I mean, they were very specific questions, right?
Yeah.
So did that press release have those specific questions answered?
It answered those questions. Some of them it didn't necessarily answer 100% to my satisfaction, but they addressed all the issues. So
what do you mean? What aspect? What didn't you like?
No, it's not that I didn't like anything. It's just, you know, they're in a tough spot. So they gave the best. They answered the questions to the best of their ability. There's certain things they just can't come out and say or guarantee. So, you know, I wasn't expecting that, but most specifically, they have an issue with Celsius, and they specifically addressed that. They didn't even tell us how many Bitcoin they mined, so, you know, they addressed that. It was a list of things, and they hit the whole list. So, and that company is Mawson. If you guys want to check it out, I did a video like 2 or 3 days ago, something about red flags or something is what it was called. And
so what rating do you give Mawson now after you got that information?
I mean, the only thing I'll say is what I said on the video. I feel a lot. I'm not invested in them right now. Obviously, this is not financial advice, but I feel a lot better with the answers to those questions. Now, as an investor or a potential investor, I have the information that I need to try to figure out, you know, where they're trending, what's going on, what's the plan, because in the absence of information, you guys all know we assume the worst. Right. If they're not going to tell, if they told every single month all year, they told us how many Bitcoin they mine. Now, all of a sudden this month, they didn't tell us. What are you going to assume? It was a nightmare, right? It was so bad that they figured they're better off not even telling us. That's how bad it is.
Right.
But
that's interesting.
Yeah. So I feel better about them, but I'm still not invested in them.
Did you, should we throw $1 million at them, or what should we do?
They need more than that.
How much more?
About 39 million more.
Wow. What? In what period of time? In what period of time?
I mean, technically a current liability is due in the next 12 months. So when I do my current ratio, current assets versus current liabilities, I'm looking at things that could be anywhere from 1 day to 12 months out to past due. And in this instance, I think actually there's an awful lot in there that's already past due. There's some they may be able to, you know, renegotiate the terms of. We just saw Stronghold renegotiate the terms of every single penny of all their debt last week. So it can be done. But we want to know what's the deal. And when Stronghold did that, I did buy an opening position in them. So I'm not recommending that. I'm just telling you that's what I did. When they finally came out and showed me that they had restructured, and it was at a big cost. They had to give most of their machines back.
So where is Stronghold today? Where are they right now?
Stronghold, let's pull up the Stronghold chart. So they're not that far off of their lows. Actually they are. June 30th was their low at $1.44. They're trading at $2.01 right now.
Wow, that's pretty good, honestly.
So yeah, that's a nice little bump. But you can see, I mean, this chart, they're all over the place. They've been up and down and up and down, but everything just pulled back.
Right.
And then Mawson did not have a great day, but you know what? A lot of companies didn't have a great day today. So I don't think it was specific to them. I think it was just a rough day. Actually, Mawson came all the way back to down 0.8%. So that was better than average. There were some miners that were green. I should get to the comments. I have not read a comment.
Let's see if I can see any.
Cameron, hello. Good evening. Sorry, I'm just reading. Good evening. Barry, hey Barry. Hey Crypto.
You know what we should do?
Gregor. What?
I think we have to put the same question back up, by the way, of what started this all out. Are we going up? Or are we going down?
Oh, okay. All right.
I think that is the next question. Are we going to 25? Or are we going to 15? That's the question I think is on everyone's mind.
I'll put
I know which
up.
I'm saying 15, just so everybody knows.
Sour Melon Gaming says, will there be a live stream tomorrow? Yes, there will be a live stream tomorrow. George is going to be traveling, so he may do the live stream on the road. He may do part of the live stream. I don't want to speak for you, George. I'll do the poll while you answer that question.
If the phone doesn't die and the sharks don't eat me, you know, I'm a good meal for a shark. Or the alligators, the crocodiles. No crocodiles, only alligators.
We got crocodiles here.
Do we? I thought it was only alligators.
The Everglades has the world's largest population of crocodiles.
I don't like that. I don't like
fact,
that news.
Not financial advice.
I don't like that news. Oh, and tell anybody has any success stories too. That'd be good to keep everybody motivated.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Share your success stories.
And who loves XRP?
Sorry, I'm typing this thing in.
All right, I was raising my hand. I love XRP.
Yeah, we are aware of your love for XRP.
I love XRP, but I called for 8 cents just so everybody knows. I just want that out there.
8 cents. So tell them what it's at right now.
35 cents?
Yeah, that's a disaster scenario you're predicting.
Well, I call it opportunities. You can call it a disaster.
All right.
I'm just saying that if you see it getting lower, don't be scared. Cost average in. Because I think in a couple years from now, it's not going to matter if you bought it at 30 cents or 8 cents.
Well, hopefully that's the key to the cryptocurrencies that we like, even more so than stocks. I mean, there's so much room left to the upside. The whole entire crypto universe is still just lingering around $1 trillion. There's 5 companies bigger than that. So there's an awful lot of room left. For those of you who think you're late, we are not late. It is still extremely early in the cryptocurrency world.
I know. How many people are watching?
Right now?
Yeah.
36.
Okay, so I can't give them the news of what I'm doing yet. If we break 50, I'll do it. It's not that many.
Oh, all right.
But
I'll keep my eye
I can just
on
say
it.
that we like the crypto space. Did you hear me?
I heard you.
We
Hello
like
from
the
San
crypto
Jose,
space.
Costa Rican airport. Hello.
Oh, you're in the
Hello
airport?
and good luck.
What, are you flying back to Florida?
I got
You
my
getting
mic
out?
is quiet. Is that what's happening? I'll pull it closer to my face. See, does this help? Anybody?
Isn't that funny? He's in the Costa Rica airport. Hey, if you see Juan down there, tell him have him give you my $20 he owes me. It's $20. Just I trust you. Drop it off at Miami-Dade.
Justin says hello from New Zealand. Hello, Justin,
New
and
Zealand.
hello, New Zealand. Welcome to the live
Yeah.
stream.
That's awesome. What do you guys think in New Zealand about crypto? You think it's going down or going up?
Eric says, good evening from the Netherlands. Welcome, welcome everybody from all these awesome places. Thank you for joining us in our little conversation. Hey, Alex, welcome.
What is that? Norwegian? What language is that? Yeah. Dutch. I speak Dutch.
I do,
Holland?
Alex. I do buy Bitfarms.
Bitfarms is the best Bitcoin mining stock out there.
This is to you, George. RT says 8 cents will never, ever happen again.
I love hearing that.
XRP
You want to make a
is
friendly
king.
wager? I know. I agree. It is king, but the indicators are it's going to 8 cents. It's gonna happen. It's my Spidey sensors. They're my indicator. It's my Spidey sensor.
Scott, I have to look into this. I'm sorry, George. You left a note that says there's some FUD going around that Marathon's miners were affected by the floods. So that's the second time I heard that today, and I haven't dug into it. So I will dig into that tonight and ask around and see if anybody knows anything concrete about that. Victor is here from Denmark. Thank you, Victor.
The most recent flood, Tom?
Yeah.
Like a couple of days?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. That poor company. You know that?
Well,
is it time to short them?
That information is not yet verified, so we're not spreading the FUD. But we are gonna look into the situation. Sour Melon saying these streams will get thousands of watchers when Bitcoin gets back on its bull run. I hope that you are right, Sour Melon Gaming, and you can say you were here first.
I have one for you. I heard that they were actually throwing the miners into the water.
Insurance claim?
Insurance claim. That's probably the best thing. That's probably the best thing that they could do. Actually, if they're listening, you know that's what I do for a living, is public adjusting. I understand BOP plans probably better than anybody. They probably have business interruption insurance, and they're probably going to make more money that way. Look, we mine a lot of Bitcoin.
See if you can get the water restoration job on that one. That's one of the things George does. So
I never even thought of that.
Crypto M Victor is here from Denmark. Welcome. Martin Burke is asking, do I own any stock ticker any Sphere 3D? No, I do not own any. I know that for some reason on the Discord, everybody was saying that is my favorite company. Listen, any is trying. Sphere 3D is trying. I keep up with them. They have a new CEO. It's got to be that was a tough job for somebody to take. And, they're mining almost no Bitcoin. They're out of money. They can't really I believe they had 1,000 miners delivered, and they're either in the process of or getting another 4,000. But that's it. They can't afford the rest that they ordered. So everything's on hold from there. So essentially, they're mining just a few Bitcoin a month. They're to their credit, they're being very under the new CEO. They're being very transparent. They have come clean and said, that ridiculous deal with new miner is over and gone, and they'll try to get their $10 million back, but that's, in my opinion, not likely. And they put out a monthly mining report just like the other people, even though it's only like 10 or 12 Bitcoin. At least they're reporting. But I do not own any. That's not
I can
financial
tell you
advice.
one thing. Tom doesn't brag about himself I think you called that at $11, by the way.
Yeah, that's one of the ones that was
It was
crystal
two.
clear.
That was one of them. And guys, I can tell you in another year from now, I don't think all the current mining companies will still be around. I mean, this is going to be a very tricky space here, especially if prices keep coming down. This is not free money by any stretch of imagination. If you're looking for, you might have a quick, 15% run on something, but overall, this is going to be sketchy for the next year. Don't you think, Tom?
I'm more optimistic than you. I do think we're going to go down before we go back up. But I think a year from now, we're going to be sitting in a better place. But like you said, some of these people aren't going to make it through that next down part. And I think I'm starting to think a lot more they're going to get consumed by the bigger guys that have better liquidity. Because there's a few companies that it's just a liquidity problem. And I don't know how they're going to get from here to there. But they make a great opportunity for somebody, one of the bigger companies to come in and buy, even if they were to buy some of these stocks at 100% premium. A lot of these companies are well under $100 million market cap. So you get a $50 million market cap company, you pay $100 million for it. Maybe you got to put another 100 or 150 to get it to where they were trying to go. So it costs you 200 or 300 million, and it's a significant improvement in your business. So I feel like some of these people, but the stockholders, a lot of those stockholders, there's companies where people bought in for $15, and right now they're going to be happy if they get bought out at $2. So, unfortunately, a lot of people lost money in the middle. And not everybody can make it. There's not enough space in here. Well, I'm going to do a video. I will tell you, everybody has drastically scaled back their plans on exahash. So I did a calculation for all of that, and I'm going to show everybody. It's pretty staggering.
Does that just change the difficulty level?
Well, essentially, yeah. I mean, had they added all of that exahash to the worldwide exahash, then it would be a lot higher, and the difficulty level would be a lot higher. So the people that stayed closest to their plan are making a lot of extra money right now because the difficulty level has remained the same. It's actually come down 4 or 5 adjustments. The last one was up 0.6 or 0.7 or something, so it was almost flat. So there's some companies that stayed close to their plan, and they're killing it. There's other companies that are anywhere from a little off their plan to horrendously off their plan. All right, so far, let's check in on our survey, if I know how to do that. Oh, we got a barn burner today.
Uh-oh, what?
We got 25 votes in. Everybody vote. We got 25 votes in. It is 52% think that Bitcoin's going up, and 48% think it's going down. This is a nail biter.
I should have qualified it by saying, I mean, the next few months, I think it's going down.
Yeah, I put up to 25K or down to 15. So I think people assume that's like, what's the next move?
I think the next move is below 20. Somebody on the, when it was like 23.8, and they said, do you think we're ever going to see 22 again? I said, yeah, by the end of the day.
Martin says, hi from Switzerland. Hello, Martin. Hello, Switzerland. Welcome.
Hey!
This is a great crowd. Thank you, everybody, for joining us from around the world.
Guys, what are you looking for on these miners to make you feel more comfortable? Is it just price increase right now at this point in time? Or is there certain things that they can say or do? Because, like, I still think, that 200 million, I mean, people forget about it. That's what's so funny about raising at the shelf offerings, is that people forget about them after a month. You know that?
Well, a lot of retail investors forget about them. A lot of institutional investors hold that over certain companies' heads forever. So it's a mixed bag. Definitely letting people know that you're done with your shelf offering usually results in a nice uptick. And that's one of the problems. Like Stronghold Mawson has $100 million at the market offering. But they're their market cap's $50 million, so they can't use it.
Right.
Right? What are they going to double, triple, quadruple the dilution in their stock? It's just not feasible for them to really raise money. Yeah, they could raise a couple bucks if they absolutely need to, but that level of dilution is going to be unacceptable to, I would say, most shareholders. Other than versus literally other than going out of business. That's the only.
So don't you think if they got in a bind, you know what I mean? They would freaking go and grab $1 million or 2 million or 3 million?
I think if they grabbed 1 or 2 or 3 million, that wouldn't be a big deal. If they try to grab 50 million, which is not a lot of money for these guys, then they've just diluted themselves. They've doubled their shares of stock.
So, but my question is, can't they do that every month?
What, go grab a million or two?
Yeah.
If that solved their problem, but unfortunately for them, from a numbers standpoint, I don't think that gets them where they're going.
Right.
Seriously says, hi, guys, joining in. Hey, how are you? Or at least...
Yeah, definitely put in a chat where you guys are from. We like seeing that. When we started this, we were just happy that we saved one person 6 figures. Remember that? Who was that? I mean, we don't need to say his name, but it was it on support?
Somebody just jumped back into last week's stream and they were one of the people who watched that support video, and they said thanks. That's the first video of yours I ever saw, and it saved them a lot of money. So, you know, that's
Tom
it.
Doesn't like to brag. So Tom, I don't know if this is a bad question to ask you, but how is the 10K?
It's sideways. I mean, we made up a lot of ground, and it's just like Bitcoin over the last. It topped out a couple weeks ago, and now we're basically sideways. So I'm waiting. I know I'll get into what I think is going to happen with Bitcoin in the next 30, 60, 90 days. I think there's some opportunities out there, not just with Bitcoin. I think the whole market's going to have a little bit of the same cycle. Justin is saying is most undervalued miner at the moment, CleanSpark ? So I definitely, CleanSpark is one of the two things I'm still buying. Bitfarms at certain prices, I just have to add to my Bitfarms position. There's just, I don't know if it's an OCD habit at this point or what, but CleanSpark is one that I am adding to. I'm waiting for it to get to a certain number that it's very close to right now. I think I'm going to get a chance to dollar cost average in 2 more times. I think it's going to go all the way down to $4. So if I miss it, I miss it. You know, I've already got a nice size position in it, but if I can, I'll add at 450, which it's almost at right now, and I'll add again at $4.
So what's that, CleanSpark?
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah, CleanSpark at $4. It's, but a lot of these numbers are insane. We're gonna look back. It's gonna be no different. They're gonna go Bitfarms at $1.46. Wow, that doesn't make any sense.
Makes no sense at all. So, what do you think long term? What are you looking with these companies, Tom? Are you thinking you're gonna hold them mostly for a year now, or you're just going to buy some options or sell some cover calls?
I still hold all my stocks. So I got some money on the sidelines. I hold the stocks that I bought. I was buying calls, and that was working for a couple of months. So I was making money buying calls. Now I just, in my video today, talked about, I think I'm going to start selling covered calls, because I think we're looking very sideways right now. Whether it's skewing to the up a little bit or down a little bit, we definitely, I think we're in a little bit of a very tight trading range here. And when it breaks, it's my personal feeling, in the very short term, it's going to break to the downside. So I see us hitting a couple of lower lows before we reverse back around and take another relief rally. And then one of these days, the relief rally is actually going to be the beginning of a bull run, in my opinion. Michael
Do you just think we only have one
little
downturn?
Yeah, I've got, I mean, I can go to my price targets. Let me go back to Bitcoin. So it bounced off of the first one. So this is my first video when I called the top and we got that one to the day. This blue line right here at 20,719. I said this was a very optimistic bottoming out. And we did find support there for the last week, but I still say that is overly optimistic. I think we've found some short-term support, and we are still going to go. Ultimately, we're going to go lower. In my opinion, I think both of these lines right here, one's at just under 20,000 and one's at just over 19,000. To me, that's where I think we're going to end up. A lot of people think we're going to go lower or a lot lower than that. So, we got to update. We now have 34 votes, and up is taking a dominant position at 65% and down at 35%. So starting to lean towards up. I mean, I guess I would have to answer up in that because we're saying what's the next one it's going to hit, 15 or 25. I don't think we're going down to 15. I do think we're going down. But, I mean, I can't deny one of my lines was right here. So, if I was calling that my optimistic best case scenario, which usually I dismiss because, you know, things don't usually work out that way. But, you know, you never know. Maybe that was the bottom.
16.3.
16,300. That's your call?
My call. I think it's going to go like this until they go 0.5 or 5 basis points next month. I think that's going to cause a little ripple.
Just accidentally destroyed the poll. Sorry, everybody.
It's going to be a little problem right there. But once we get by that, I think we should be good. I think the election, I think that's going to have a little something. But then it could get wrecked.
I'm just going to let everybody know on the stream we got Eric from England, and Eric is a regular to the channel, so welcome back. We got Douglas from Mexico. We got Cameron from London.
Hello.
We got Dan from GB.
Great Britain. Oh, no. Yeah, GB.
We got...
And by the way, it's GC, though, just, you know. Those are my initials, GC.
I'm going to mispronounce this name. Fernick from Hungary. Welcome. So, welcome everybody from all those places. That is really awesome. So it's good to get a lot of different perspectives because, you know, everybody's in a different spot and different things are happening. So let us know what's happening in your part of the world. You know, everybody's a little stressed over here. I can tell you we're in the U.S. in Florida, and I would say stressed out is the general condition over here, in my opinion.
Should you talk about our conversation at lunch with the people in GB?
No.
No.
Some things are for inside voices only.
Okay. No. Sorry.
Michael Anthony, I was about to get to this, and I got disrupted or whatever. I'd rather buy gold, silver, or oil
than Bitcoin miners.
I will tell you, silver is tanking. It's tanking. The first 3.5 months of this year, silver and gold were the only things going up in the whole market. And they have subsequently turned around. Of course, oil has had a nice run. And there's a lot of people predicting that's going to go up massively 1 or 2 more times. So I don't know what the answer to that is. I think we're in a reduced demand situation. But, you know, winter's coming. So, not yet, but later. Okay, we got somebody called CleanSpark Whale, and not surprisingly, they're saying CleanSpark is by far the best miner right now. And you guys know I like CleanSpark. I mean, I like those guys. They've been on the channel. I think they got good management. I think they're making great decisions.
But is this like right now, or is value of stock? What is it?
What?
For what are our metrics?
Well, that's what you always have to, it's what's your time frame? Short term, medium term. We're at 50. I don't know if you were going to tell the people something at 50 concurrent viewers. I don't remember what your number was. And quite frankly, I'm afraid of what you're going to tell them. But we're at 50, so. Barry is saying, is Tom hinting that the ETH merge hype might boost the market? I think that is going to be your standard issue sell the news scenario, in my opinion. I have a lot of thoughts on the ETH merge, but I'm personally all over the place on it, so until I organize my thoughts, I'll just try to keep them to myself. If you guys are not on the Discord, you can join the Discord. It is free, and usually everybody's very nice there, unless it's a really bad day in the market. No, we have a lot of great conversation over there. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. These likes, I never really even truly believed it until we just did a test. Hitting the like button, for whatever reason, is like, that for the algorithm is insane. It boosted our views a lot, so thank you, everybody. I've never done this before, and I see YouTubers do this all the time. So one time I was like, hey, let's try. We've never had 300 likes before. So you guys came through and you did it. We blew it away, and that made a huge difference. So maybe once a week I'll ask everybody to please get us to 300 likes if you would be so kind. But if you don't like the video, then you don't have to hit the like button.
You don't have to hit it.
It's absolutely at your own discretion. And there's even the other button over there. We get a couple of those every once in a while too. They stopped showing the statistics on the thumbs down. I guess people were too big of babies to handle the truth, but behind the scenes, I can see what happens. So we get a couple of thumbs down every video. Well, not every video, but most.
What, you mean, like, how many people rip on you? Is there a lot of hate or no?
There's the positive comments far outweigh the hate on our channel. So thank you guys, everybody, for that. This is a good group of, I think, I don't know what the right word is, but knowledgeable investors and people who are serious about what's going on. So they're not just a bunch of dummies leaving hate comments. I get 1 or 2 or 3 of those at the most per video, but mostly it's constructive comments of people giving their thoughts or just leaving positive feedback. So I appreciate that. You guys, it makes a big difference. And also the comments help the algorithm a lot too. So, all that stuff helps. I appreciate it a lot.
Should we try to do our first squeeze and get in our position tomorrow and then tell people about it tomorrow night?
We can.
I think we should. I think maybe that will help blow you up, Tom. Because I think that based on what you've told me with how short squeezes work, that is probably the best one I've ever seen. Let's put it this way. Someone's going to do it. Might as well be us.
Somebody is going to do that. There's no question in my mind. So, other than nothing's for sure.
How long do those plays take, Tom, usually? Is it a year, 2 years, or a few months?
No, it can be at any time. It's when the scales are out of balance, it's just really a matter of when somebody with enough money notices it, and that problem gets fixed via a short squeeze sometimes, and it can, it can be a 3-hour thing or a 1-day thing. Or it
So
can sit there for a long time. If nobody cares and nobody's interested, and no one with big money cares enough, then they won't. Nobody.
How much money would you need to make it on that one particular stock?
I mean, you always really need a couple $1,000,000 to move in
Right.
to affect even the small cap stocks.
So you move in with a couple million. You think that's a 20x, 15x, 5x, 1x? I know this is not financial advice.
It's a squeeze, which in my mind means it's a 2, 3, 4, 5x.
That's it? Oh, that's nothing.
Hey,
I want a squeeze where it's 15 or 20.
we got to find a smaller company. If you want a
Oh,
20,
really?
you really, if you want a 20x, you got to be looking at it like a 15 or 20 million dollar company, because there's so much room to the upside in a company like that a squeeze can spiral upward out of control. I mean, really. I mean, the big famous squeezes lately really they had nothing to do with fundamentals or anything. People just picked a company and made it run. In fact, the companies they picked, in my opinion, were poor companies, to the point where I will tell you, I had AMC in my there's a old Clint Eastwood movie called Deadpool, not the new Deadpool. And it was a movie about, like, celebrities made a list of people they thought they were going to die in the next year. Anyway, they were on my corporate Deadpool. AMC was going out of business. And then Wall Street Bets randomly decided they were going to win. And now they're thriving. They're rolling in cash.
I mean, they'll probably never go out of. I mean, they won't go out of business in the next 10 years.
Not anymore. Not after what just happened. They capitalized on that. They've issued stock, and their bank is all filled up now. So
they might start producing their own movies.
Well, there's room in that space too. That's for sure.
I mean, think about it. That's a good idea. So I think that's if we could squeeze. So you don't only be a 3 or a 5, huh?
I mean, you never know how far things go, because a lot of times they overshoot in the wrong direction. But you got to get out. You can't get greedy. Alex is saying, how can we get Beam to global to squeeze? Well, that's definitely one of the ones on my list. That's a great setup. I'll tell you what, it's almost something like we have to have our own group, because whoever's in charge at Wall Street Bets, they specifically do not want that to squeeze, because I've suggested it several times and they will not post my comment. They keep giving me some random reason why my comment is not postable, and so they're deleting it. So, and I checked. Nobody's ever mentioned them over there, so they're avoiding that for some intentional reason. I don't know what it is, so we're going to have to do that one on our own, but that's a great candidate. And not to mention, that's actually a good company, so, maybe they don't want to squeeze a good company. They only want to pick garbage. Not that I'm saying GameStop and AMC are garbage. I may or may not be saying that. Barry is saying, Hut, ? Hive, short squeeze. I mean, there's a better chance to short squeeze Riot and Marathon. Those by far have the biggest short interest on them out of all the Bitcoin miners. I think CleanSpark has a decent short interest, but not like Riot and Marathon. So, there is the potential that those two will have an explosion at some point. Just, when Bitcoin finally decides to do its thing, there's an awful. I mean, I think they're in the over 30% shorted, if I'm remembering right. So, those are big short positions. And surprisingly, Hut and Hive and Bitfarms, they do not have big short positions, even though their stock price is so low. It's not because it's been driven down by the shorts. It's just the institutions haven't moved into them in the same way. That's one thing. So you got BlackRock in Marathon and Riot, you know. So then you got all your usual suspects. Then, you know, so Hive, I did a video on a couple of days ago. Short term, and this is now the second day in a row it's happened. I am a little worried about Hive's short-term prospects as far as their stock goes. Not their company. Their balance sheet is very strong, so they're not going anywhere. But I think their stock could take a hit in the next 30 to 60 days. And that goes back to the merge. So we'll see when and if that happens. Now they came out today and said it's definitive. It's going to be block number whatever, and that's going to happen sometime between September 10th and September 20th. So I think it's imminent now that the merge is here, the merge is real, but there are many questions that remain unanswered, in my opinion, regarding the merge. So my biggest question is it going to be inflationary or deflationary for Ethereum? And I've seen, you would think there's only two choices. I feel like I've seen 100 different answers to that question. And the fact is, it's a mathematical equation that there's variables that depend on how much adoption occurs, how much Ethereum is staked. They have no idea whether it's going to be inflationary or deflationary. So I don't like that. I think making a fundamental change to a cryptocurrency like that, especially it's the second biggest cryptocurrency out there, I'm not a fan. I could go on, but I won't bore everybody because I don't think you guys care that much about Ethereum. Sour Melon Gaming saying, you sold me on these miners, Tom. I thought about it for a while, but back in early July, I finally bit the bullet on them. Riot, Hut, and Bitfarms currently large positions. I mean, I like the three you mentioned are three that I own. Those three plus CleanSpark, I think right now are my biggest four positions. So that's just me. And I think there's other good companies. And there are other companies that I am definitely avoiding. So, you know, there's some companies are better than others and have different levels of risk. Alex is saying CleanSpark has a 10% short interest. So, you know, that's a little bit, but I don't know if that's enough to get a short squeeze going. These shouldn't need a short squeeze. They should be running. And I think they will. I mean, we just saw, let's not forget, you know, all these things pulled back 90%, but a lot of these, let me go to here. What we've been talking about CleanSpark, so let's go to CleanSpark. So CleanSpark hit a low on July 5th. It hit a high on August 12th. That was an 84% run-up. That's actually less than most of the Bitcoin miners. So CleanSpark did not, I mean, don't get me wrong, an 85% run-up is great. But I'm going to go to Hut because I remember them having a much bigger run-up. So same date, July 5th to August 15th. So that is just under 200%. I mean, that's not a short squeeze. That's just what happens when these stocks turn around, which is why I will hold and I will wait. At some point, Bitcoin's going to get healthy, in my opinion. And so we'd all prefer it sooner than later. However, I will tell you, you know, every time we get a pullback like this, I increase my positions. So my percent of my total portfolio that's Bitcoin miners has never been bigger than it is today. So if we keep getting more chances, I will keep going back to the well. Alex is saying, can you get Frank or Aiden back for an interview? I'm sure that especially Frank loves to talk and he's very forthcoming. So I'll reach out to them and see if he'll come on and tell us, because I mean, the last two times I talked to them, the merge was not set in stone. And I think Frank even then, and if I'm honest, I think Frank even now isn't 100% sure it's going to happen. But it's starting to seem like it's inevitable. So I would like to get Frank back on the channel. I'm going to send a message to him and see when or if he could come back and talk to us over the next maybe 2 weeks. Ideally, I'd love to talk to him right after the merge happens, because then he can't really dance around the question. Like, then the merge will be, it will be done. That won't be a question mark anymore. Allie says, will we see Riot 79 or CleanSpark 42 ever again? If so, how likely? So I think we'll see both of those things, but I do think those are not realistic one-year price targets. And I'll take them separately. CleanSpark, actually, both of those were in early 2021. So they had a combination of Bitcoin was just catching fire, and the small cap high growth stocks people were throwing money at, everything was doubling, tripling, quadrupling. So CleanSpark was in the 40s, and they hadn't even hardly mined a Bitcoin yet. So, you know, it's ridiculous that now they're at $4 and, you know, they're one of the big Bitcoin miners. So they're way oversold in my opinion. And yeah, I think they'll get back to 42, but I think it's more of a, I think when we see Bitcoin revisit its anywhere from 69,000, which was its all-time high, between 69,000 and $100,000 Bitcoin, all of these Bitcoin miners really should take out their all-time highs. And really, if you think about it, there's a handful of them that are going to be 5 or 10 times the size they were the last time they were at their all-time high. So they could be double or triple those numbers. I mean, that's just doing the math. You never know how it plays out, but that's what I'm looking at. But I think we'll have to wait a little bit. Riot's another one. I got rid of all my Riot a long time ago, so I got to start over very near the bottom on that one. So I'm waiting. I'll be holding that for, I'll be waiting for 80 for that one. Moonboo says short squeeze sounds more like a type of underwear these days. Yeah, we haven't had a lot of big. Well, AMC just had its thing, but then it crashed. And I tried to stop. I do not get involved in the day trading of, you know, high risk options on short squeeze plays. It's just too hit or miss. It's too random. Like the stocks that I have a high conviction in, I know sometime in the next 1, 2, 3 years, those are going to work out for the most part. You know, you're not going to get everyone right, but you should have more hits than misses over the long term if you're careful. Lant is saying we don't know how ETH will function once they press the merge button. It's like changing the engine of a 747 in flight. So, I mean, I agree with that. And I know they've given us every opportunity to say everything's fine. Don't worry. It's all, and, you know, they've done a lot of test merges but there's just so many different, forget the fact that literally, I mean, they're changing the whole program in a fundamental way. And that has happened before. It's even happened with Bitcoin. You know, they make changes to the program, but this is at a different level. I just don't think the merge itself is going to fail. I just feel like there's going to be a while before everybody figures out whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, and whether or not we got a fork off of the merge or multiple forks. The more I read, the more I think we will have multiple forks. They may all fail. They may all be worthless, but I think more than one fork will remain proof of work, in addition to the fact that Ethereum Classic is proof of work. I think they're the big winner in this whole thing in the next 90 days, in my opinion. So I haven't even started to buy into my position on that, because I think that's going to go down before it goes up. And I'm willing to miss it if I have to miss it. But my guess is Ethereum Classic could be a big runner. Chris says it's a huge W. I think he's talking about the merge. Ellie said, you are accountant and you hold CPA. I used to. I haven't done that in a long time. That is a tough exam. How can we believe in crypto, which is something novel? I mean, everything in its beginning, early stages is novel, but I'm becoming more of a Bitcoin maximalist than I used to be as well. There's over 20,000 coins out there. I think you could say 19,000 and something of them are garbage, in my opinion. But the case for Bitcoin in particular, and that's why I don't like the merge in Ethereum. The fundamental, if you have something where a group of people can make fundamental changes, and you got to ask yourself, who made this change? Because, I'm not gonna tell you my opinion, but if you do your due diligence, you try to figure out who decided they were gonna do this merge, because it certainly was not the Ethereum miners. Their vote did not count. In fact, they were never even asked to vote. So, those kind of fundamental changes to me undermine your product. You think you're getting A, but somebody out there has the ability to say later it's just going to be B. To the point where they can't tell me whether it's going to be inflationary or deflationary. I mean, are there going to be more Ethereum or less? If even the developer of the coin doesn't know that, then what am I supposed to think? So that's just me. So that's why for Bitcoin, it is what it is. And yes, they make some technical changes to improve the program, but the fundamental rules of Bitcoin have not changed at all, and they never will. So I have confidence in that. I think it's a good store of value, and I think it's had enough adoption at this point. Even though it's still early in the process, the level of adoption is monumental versus any of the previous halvings. So I think we finally just starting to reach critical mass. And, I can't guarantee any of that. Who knows? That's my opinion, but I have a very strong belief in that, and it makes sense to me. Sometimes you got to have a part of your portfolio and what comes next. I mean, we've seen technology, everything that was at the cutting edge 25 years ago, those companies are all gone now, and now you got to be in the next group of companies, and that's going to happen again. So you have to change. So I'm all for change, and not just for the sake of change. I'm not just going to randomly go buy everything new, but for instance, I think the metaverse has gotten ahead of itself, in my opinion. So, that's something I'm not putting any money into it right now. I think all of those things are going to have a big pullback before they get to where they're going. It's going to take a lot longer, in my opinion. So that's just my opinion. You got to pick and choose. Nate says, thoughts on Cores and Bitfarm currently. Just found this live show, so apologize if you already discussed them. No, that's okay. Welcome to the program, Nate. Bitfarms is one of my high conviction plays. So if everybody familiar with the channel knows, I buy Bitfarms on the dip. Period. Core Scientific, they have a little bit of a different equation, and they have been much more volatile lately, right? They're down, I think today they're down 6% today, but they were up huge the other day. I think that if Core Scientific makes it, we're going to look back and say Core Scientific was down at $2. It's at $2.57 right now. So this is either a company that's worth nothing or considerably more than $2.57, in my opinion. So there will be a big change in that stock one way or the other. I'm a Bitcoin optimist, so I think it's all going to work out for Core Scientific. I would like to see them get more efficient. I don't understand why they have such a massive increase in the amount of machines plugged in and their exahash, but they just have these tiny incremental increases in the amount of Bitcoin they mine per month. So I'd like to see that change. Maybe it's got to do with energy curtailments or whatever the case may be, but I'd like to see them explain that a little bit more, because they should, even though they mine by far more Bitcoin than anybody already. So, I'm not complaining. They're the number one Bitcoin miner from a scale perspective by far. But per exahash, they're not keeping up with a lot of their competition. So I have mixed feelings on that one. Let's see. Sorry, I just lost my place. Yeah, seriously said BBBY lately was massive squeeze. And some calls were 2,000%. I mean, that's what can happen. My problem is which one, when, and do I have the time, and am I going to guess right? I know people make money in those, but then, then the next day they tank. And so a bunch of people one day made a lot of money. A bunch of people the next day lost a lot of money. I did get lucky one time at the very beginning of AMC, and I just did it to do a video on the channel to explain how these things work. So, but I turned $100 into like $1,800 in like 3 hours. I sold. They stopped. They stopped trading that day, and I never got in or out again. So that was just dumb luck. That one was a big win for me. It could have just as likely gone to zero. Jury says, hi, folks. Hey, welcome. A year ago in an interview, Hive said when Ethereum goes proof of stake, they may well switch to mining Ethereum Classic with their GPU miners. So they're definitely going to, I mean, there's no question in my mind, some of their GPU processing is going to go to Ethereum Classic, and they already do a little bit. But they have come out and said, like, the Ethereum Classic network cannot handle all of the Ethereum GPUs going over at once to Ethereum Classic. So I think there's some money to be made there, and they're going to put some part of their stuff into mining Ethereum Classic. They may have to mine some other, top 20 type coins. There's not a lot of options. And then again, like I said, I do think there'll be 1 or 2 forks. So we'll see if they get involved in that. It's risky business, but it's, it wouldn't be the first time Ethereum forked. The Ethereum that we call Ethereum is a fork of Ethereum Classic. So jury's asking, why is cores going backward? I don't know. Everything's having a little pullback. Today was a really mixed bag. If you look at the screen I'm looking at, there's a little bit of green and a bunch of red. I mean, Marathon was down 6.5%. Core Scientific was down 6%. Riot was up 2%. So those are the 3 big ones, and oftentimes they've been trading in tandem lately, but not today. So today, and Marathon ran out so far ahead of everybody else that, I'm not surprised they're having a pullback, but Core Scientific, I'm not sure why they got beat up today. Hive has had the second day in a row where they had a fairly red number, so we'll see what happens there. Sorry, I'm trying to keep up with the comments. Nate's saying, and continue to take payments in Bitcoin. So, I'm not sure if you're still talking about Hive. Right, because Hive, unlike Hut, who has always received all their payments in Bitcoin, Hive has mined Ethereum, been paid in Ethereum, and they've been selling Ethereum at a big profit. So that was a very good run for them, but it looks like it could be over. So, where do they go from there is the question. They do have a lot of straight up Bitcoin mining power as well. I think they're at 2.2 exahash, and they're looking to get to 3.2 exahash. So, they're a decent sized straight up Bitcoin miner, but, they have another at least exahash worth of equivalent worth of GPUs that are going to have to find a new home and a new way to generate revenue, it looks like. So I can try and get Frank on before that happens and see if he danced around it a lot on the conference call, and I know he's got a lot of ideas in his head. I'm not sure if they're going to work or if they're not going to work. But I think this is, this was one of those things that's been delayed forever. and you start to get lulled and think it's never going to happen, but now it looks like it's here. So we've got my price target is $40 for HUT, says, I'm going to mispronounce your name, I apologize, Ferenc. So I mean, yeah, it's, you know, you're talking time frame. When's it going to get to $40? That's, I would like to think I'm going to hold my HUT until it's at $40. I think that's probably at least 2 years away, in my opinion. You know, for all I know, it's 5 years away. It's really going to depend on how Bitcoin moves over time. But I feel strongly that this is a bottoming out process, and we're getting ready for the next bull run. And we're not going to have cycles, in my opinion. The first couple of cycles that we had, to some extent, repeated themselves. This cycle, if you look back on it, it did not act anything like the other cycles at all. I think this is turning into more of a normal asset, but it is an early. To me, this is like an early stage growth stock. So I think there's a lot more upside, but there's a lot of volatility in those types of stocks. That's my thought. What about the Fed tomorrow? I never like when the Fed speaks. So I don't know what more they can tell us. I mean, they've sent some signals that, I could tell you this, they're not too happy about the amount of money Congress and the president have been spending lately. So there will be backlash from the Fed for that, in my opinion. Right? They almost are painting the Fed into a little bit of a corner. So, but are they going to stay within there? Everybody already thinks at the next meeting it's going to be either 0.5 or 0.75. So I think that's going to hold. If they start to do something like a full percent in a meeting, that would start to move the market. But I don't think they're going to have. I think even though they're going to want to, and they're going to talk very tough, because that's the most powerful tool they have, is to talk tough. That's the most effective thing they can do, because they can only raise rates so much. That is just the reality of the matter. So I think they'll probably try to be scary, because that's what's, you know, since the last time they were out here, macro things have happened that made things worse. We had inflation numbers come in decent. CPI numbers for July came in okay, but pretty much all the other things that have happened since then have been very inflationary, in my opinion. So I think they're going to talk tough. But in the end, they're probably going to have to do just exactly what they were going to do anyway. Just my opinion. Allie is saying, what percentage miners are in your portfolio from the total of all stocks in your portfolio, like Nano Dimension and Palantir, et cetera, et cetera? I feel like I'm at least at 40%. And I will tell you, this is not financial advice, but I've never done that before. I don't recommend people have that level of concentration, but I just really have that level of conviction in the Bitcoin miners. I also think they're going to move before a lot of the other stocks that I have some conviction in over the long term, I think are in for a very rough short term, meaning the next 6 months or a year. So I am comfortable moving. I think Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners are going to move a lot faster than some of the other stocks that are very oversold, that are priced at prices that, in my opinion, they don't deserve to be at, but they're likely to stay there for a while. So Jury's saying he's 50% miners, so I'm not quite there yet. I won't be surprised if I end up there, because again, I think we're going down to 20 or 19,000 in my opinion, and I will buy in at both of those prices if they get there. So if that gets me to 50%, so be it. I really don't want to go past that. That's a lot. But there's a lot of, I mean, I don't own most of the Bitcoin miners. That's after having pared down to, you know, my top conviction plays. Lant is saying there's Bitcoin and everything else. The beauty of Bitcoin is needs small changes very slowly. Bitcoin code chose security over scalability. Layer 2 gives scalability. So I mean, I agree with that. There's the changes. I don't think there's ever going to be a change to Bitcoin that has anything to do with it conceptually that will change the economics of it. Right? In other words, they're never going to say, "Oh, you know what? There's going to be more than 21 million Bitcoin. We're going to make it 50 million." That's just that's not in the cards. So there's going to be 21 million Bitcoins. It can take another 100 years to get there, by the way, and we think that 4 or 5 million of them are already lost. And when a Bitcoin is lost, you're not going to find it later. Lost means gone. So the supply is even less than we think. All right, hold on. Let me see. I keep jumping around here. In the same interview, Hive said that they mine ETH Classic to cover their operational expenses. So they said they might find some other high-margin applications for their GPU miners too. Right. I mean, they might move into the high-performance computing business. Hut has already done that. They led the way in that. And I know Jamie over at Hut has a background that's very compatible with that. So, you know, they got a big learning curve advantage. Well, I don't know what Hive has. Maybe they have somebody over there as well. And they were able, you know, Hut was able through acquisition to hit the ground running on that. So that's a little more seamless for them, but it could be something that Hive ends up getting into. To me, I think whatever happens to Hive is a short-term thing. So I do think there's a good chance their stock could get beat up for 30 or 60 or 90 days. But I don't think this changes their long-term picture because they've already made their deal with Intel. They've already been moving towards Bitcoin. So, you know, I think they're going to end up in the same place, but there could be more downside than upside in the short term. You know, that's for the traders out there, or even, you know, even swing traders. 30, 60, 90 days is a decent swing trade. Do you look at the DXY to see how crypto and the miners will move? I mean, I look at the DXY, but it is not in my top 15 things that I consider to be... I know a lot of people feel like that's just a direct correlation. The DXY is in a funny place right now, too. So, you know, I don't know why the dollar keeps getting stronger. That's only because everybody else is having an even harder time than the U.S., I guess. I don't know. But I don't tend to look at that. I think that, and I don't look at the NASDAQ versus Bitcoin either. And I know everybody's absolutely convinced there's some kind of permanent link there, but I don't. I think whatever link is happening, there's no denying they have followed a similar pattern, but I don't think that they're related. It's correlation, but not causation, in my opinion. Coors is paying too much for power. They could send many of their machines to Stronghold. Of course, first they should merge. Yeah, I mean, Coors could buy Stronghold. The Coors could buy Stronghold. That's chump change for them. You know, that's a few bucks. So that's one of those mergers that might happen. There's 3 or 4 companies that I think would greatly benefit from buying Stronghold. And Stronghold has a great business model. They just ran out of money. So they may yet get through that because they did some very nice work, you know, financially speaking, to reorganize, in my opinion. But they are the number one candidate for somebody to come pick up and scoop up at a bargain, I think. Javier is saying, any good news on Sphere 3D? Any? How have they been doing? I talked about that real quickly earlier. I mean, they're stuck in the mud. They have 1,000 Bitcoin miners. I think they got another 4,000 that they've paid enough money that those are going to get delivered and operational. And they're a little bit stuck after that. So that's about a half an exahash that they can get to. They have purchase ordered many. I don't remember if that was a 60,000 machine purchase order. It was a very big purchase order. And I'm not talking about the other one with the other machine that didn't turn out to be what it was reported to be. Let's just say that. So that deal's gone. If you remember, I mean, at one point they announced, hey, we're going to be at 32 exahash next year, and we're going to be the biggest miner on the planet. And now they're not going to get to 1 exahash. So I'm staying away from that. I wish them well. They got a new person there. That person's got a tough job. So I hope they find a way to turn the corner. But that investment would not be for me. Everybody, if you could remember to smash the like button, I would appreciate it. It does help. If you don't want to, you don't have to. But if you are willing to, I appreciate it. Will you do a show, I assume a video on NNDM after they post quarterly report next? Yes. I will. There's a bunch I'm going to circle back around to. It seems like the small cap high growth stocks outside of the Bitcoin miners, people truly lost interest on. I posted a few months ago, I posted a Fubo update, and it was like, it got like 10% of the views of my other videos. It was wild. So I backed off of those for a little while. But NNDM is also, that is one of my very high conviction plays. So I will do a video on that, even if nobody ends up watching it. Nate said, thanks for sharing your insights. I have come to value your work and opinion. I am into December and January call options in Bitfarms and cores. Well, thank you, Nate. I appreciate that. And good. I'm in January. I'm in the January Bitfarms. So I'm there with you. And I think that's enough time. So like I said, I think we're going to go a little bit down before we go up. But I think long before December and January, we'll be back on some type of reasonable path. Even if that only means Bitcoin 30,000 or 32,000. That's a healthy, the Bitcoin miners will be very healthy at that number versus being at 21,000 and everybody being scared they're about to go to 15,000. That's being on the bubble like this is not a good spot for these guys. So if Bitcoin can just they don't have to run back to $60,000. They just need to get a little bit healthy by the end of the year. And I feel like all these miners will have a very nice run up. Nate's saying similar thing. I think both could run strongly higher if Bitcoin bottoms and begins running higher soon. Cores mines massive amounts of Bitcoin daily and is growing their fleet strongly. Yeah, they mine more Bitcoin than anybody. They have a bigger fleet by far than anybody. And I think they're targeting 16 or 17 self-mining exahash by the end of this year. So that would still leave them by far in first place, even if everybody else executes their plan to perfection. My only issue with them is I'd like to see that number of Bitcoin mined per exahash go up from where it is right now. It's just a little bit lower than where it should be. But they do mine a massive amount of Bitcoin. Jury's saying he's got cores and Bitfarms. Also, I don't have cores, but I can't argue against it. I mean, that they could end up being the biggest market cap out of all of them. They could end up being the biggest winner. When I look at cores, I'm surprised I don't have cores. I have so much conviction in my other plays that I'm not. And like I said, I'm already so heavy in Bitcoin miners. It's hard for me to add that. But cores at $2.57 might end up being. We might look back on that in a few years and think that was the deal of the century. So. Just Will Smith the like button. Thanks, Nate. I hope it works out better for you than it did for him. I appreciate it. Could you explain to me the 40% dividend on the RIGS ETF? I don't know. I cannot explain that because I'm not familiar with it. I've looked at the RIGS ETF. I did not know that they had a 40% dividend. That sounds crazy. So I'm going to make a little note and just see I'm going to have to look into that. So unfortunately, my answer is I don't know. Alex is saying Core still has $1 billion in debt. Yes, they have $1 billion in debt. They have the most debt really out of everybody. Marathon has a lot of debt, but they've got it structured in a way that's much, much better. So yeah, that's one of the risks on the side of Cores. If Bitcoin spends the next year hanging around $20,000, Cores could end up in big trouble. I just feel like that's not going to happen. But, you know, Alex, you may feel, and a lot of people may feel, and I guess I do too, that may also hinder their run. Versus, I mean, some of the CleanSpark in particular, I mean, their market cap is so low. I'm going to go look at. What happened? This doesn't look like it did an hour ago when I went in here. Something happened. Market cap 217 million. All right, so they're over $200 million market cap, but that's a very small market cap. I mean, Cores is over $1 billion, Riot's over $1 billion, I think, still, and Marathon's over $1 billion, and those guys were up at 6, 7, 8 billion a year ago market cap. So there's a lot of room left to the upside. Yeah, even Riot's still at 1.1 billion, and they were way, way down. So they're down off of the $10 that they were just at, but they were down to $4. So, you know, all these things, and that's the hardest part. You see Riot at $4 and you go, I don't know, maybe it's going to $1, but that's the dollar cost average approach. If you stick with it, then more times than not, you know, if you obviously you got to know your stocks and pick the right stocks. Gordon's saying Bitcoin miners heavy in debt. The logic is, so what if US dollar eventually trends down and Bitcoin goes to the moon? Nothing happening today, but this situation could reverse, in my opinion. Nate says might be more confident will continue if they've been doing so. Might be more confident it will continue if they've been doing so for quite a while. And then Alex is saying, yes, it's absolutely going to hinder their run. So, I mean, I definitely can't argue with that line of reasoning either. I mean, you've got a lot of companies whose balance sheets, you've got a bunch of companies in this space that have incredibly strong balance sheets. And I will tell you, for the most part, those are the ones that I'm leaning towards. Even if it's at the expense a little bit to their scaling up versus what their plans were this year, maintaining that super strong balance sheet and liquidity, that's what's going to get them from here to there. Alex is saying at 20 to 25K for Bitcoin, they don't have the working capital to survive after 120 days. So, I mean, there you go. And there's a bunch of companies that I think have a working capital issue. If we sit down here for 6 months, I think there's several of these Bitcoin miners that have a big problem. If we don't, then a bunch of them, it'll just be a bump in the road. But if we do, then there's some that are going to have a big problem. Jury said, that's where CleanSpark I like the best, I think he's saying. Oh, that's Lant. Way less debt, better Bitcoin management, and hash rate growing fast. Yeah, the two companies, and it's actually 3. I never talk about GREE because I'm not sure anybody even cares about GREE. But very quietly, they've been growing their hash rate very steadily. I think they mined 287 Bitcoin last month. So that is putting them on the radar. That's getting them into the same league with the big companies, the bigger, more established companies that we've been talking about. And most of the new companies, you know, all the ones that either went from a SPAC or went public over the last 12 months, most of those companies have not at all performed. A lot of them are yet to even give a monthly operational update. I know Wolf, they put out their second quarter results. Their revenue for the quarter was $1 million, which means they mined 50 or 60 Bitcoin so far in the life of their company. So, you know, that's not where they expected to be. And I know they expect to do a lot more in the second half of the year than the first half of the year, but I'm guessing their plan was not 50 Bitcoin for the first half of the year. Hash rate to market cap, CleanSpark wins. And that is a metrics that I like to look at. I know a lot of people throw, why don't you measure it this way? Why don't you measure it that way? The truth is, I have some measurements that I do on these, but there are so many variables. So that is one of the variables. And I take that in the big picture because you've got to add liquidity. You've got to add, you know, debt service. There's just a lot of other variables. To come up with one magic number that compares all the Bitcoin miners, I'm hesitant to do that. I know a lot of people keep asking me, just come up with a grand number. We'll give everything a weighted average and rank them on a grand scale. But there's a lot of variables, not just the, you know, there's dozens of variables. And then, you know, depending on whether we're in a bull market or a bear market may change, you know, my listing of where they rank and what's more important. Vern says, I care a lot about GREE. Have a major position in it right now. All right, so we got a GREE person in the group. I mean, I've been watching them closely. I haven't opened a position, but they are way outpacing all of the companies that kind of came into the market at the same time that they did. So, to me, GREE, as long as you weren't, you know, a part of the whole support.com transition, if you bought GREE in the last 3 months, then I think you're probably real happy. And they've got plans to keep growing. So they seem like they're on a path. They seem to be doing what they say they're going to be doing. More so than any of the other new, I'm calling them new companies, newly publicly traded companies. Michael said, I'll be watching Bitfarms and CleanSpark to buy a little at the lows. Can't hurt me much. Yeah, I mean, those are two that I will be adding to my position if we do hit some of these lower lows that I think we're going to hit. GREE has an aggressive growth strategy. Yes, they do, and not only do they have that strategy, they're executing that strategy. So that to me is a very important difference. Like a lot of these companies came out and they put a presentation together and they talked about a gigantic growth strategy, but you know, almost none of those are manifesting themselves. So, you know, GREE is pretty much sticking to their plan, and that's rare. I'll do over the next day or two, I'll get that video out on what everybody said they were going to do versus what they've now done. And it's, you know, it's pretty shocking with some of these companies, the difference. So, and in the aggregate, it's making a massive, massive difference to the global hash rate because, you know, in total, they're nowhere near where they said they were going to be. And at this point, even they've adjusted their plans. So even if they get to where they now say they're going, it's still just going to be a small fraction of where it was supposed to be by December 31st. Or what most of them called, you know, December 31st or early Q1 of 2023. All right, I got to wrap it up, unfortunately. So, thank you, everybody, for joining me. Thanks for the comments. Thanks for the questions. Hopefully you liked. Don't forget to like and subscribe. There we go. There's my like and subscribe button. If you're not in the Discord, you can also, hopefully there should be a link to the Discord, so you can join that as well. So, everybody have a great night. So we will do another one of these tomorrow for those who are wondering. I'm not sure what we're going to do going forward. Let me know in the comments section if you guys all have a day of the week or a time that you think is best for a live stream. I'd love to know. So feel free to drop that comment on this video or any other video. So thank you everybody very much. Have a great night, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow.